Hello, my great and wonderful people. We welcome you once again to our today's episode of this program. And today we get some messages for our team. We're going to be saying one quickly the review to you concerning the things we're going to be saying if they happen right now for inside this country, Nigeria. This message of today now concerning this confuser Atiku Abubakar, when he be the presidential candidate of People's Democratic Party, PDP, for the year 2023. Sorry, say you hear us say we use that word, confuse Atiku Abubakar. Yes. Because this man, I believe, say, up till now, he don't know what he wants. Few days ago, we received a message how it be said this man take come as I say, he would do anything possible come 2027 to support Peter Obi. I believe that message come out after ABC in with Peter Obi and some other northern leaders come together to have a closed door meeting. And after that very time, this man we equally see him again for another message where ABC if a come outside to talk say, he no will ever relax. He will continue to the contest even come 2027. And now, Peter Obi don come outside to reply and also reveal to the whole public the only reason why he be say he will ever agree to join hand with Atiku come 2027. And the title of this one talks say 2027, Peter Obi replies Atiku as he disclose only condition when he be say he will make an agree to merger, which is to join hands together with Atiku to run come 2027. All right, we will do small reading from inside this very one. Maybe we for understand the condition, whether it will reveal when it be say it the making they hope to join hand with Atiku come 2027. They don't first do it before. Yes, we remember say even Peter Obi run side by side with Atiku as vice when it be say they not come out. All right. Now, as we put our hand there for inside this matter, the make us understand, say, the presidential candidate of Labour Party, when they call LP, for the year 2023 elections, when it be say in name na Peter Obi, don't give his own condition, when it be say it will make an agree for your own party to merge with People's Democratic Party, when it be say they call PDP, ahead of 2027 elections. And again, the contour say Peter Obi, he say he go only enter a merger, which is to join hand with any party or individual if it be see the purpose now to serve the greater good of Nigeria. And still on top of the matter, the make us understand say the former Anambra State governor, when we say in name na Peter Obi, revealed this very matter during his own interview when it be say he grant to Nore TV for the weekend. And again, the contour say, as it react to the statement by the presidential candidate of People's Democratic Party, when it be said that he still be the former vice president, when in name na Atiku Abubakar, for the likelihood of merger between both parties. Peter Obi he also insists, say his own alliance, say he must dey focus on to improve the governance and also help the poor Nigerian, not be just to win elections or to capture any state. And for us to conclude this matter, Peter Obi, he contour say, he commend Atiku for his own statement, especially where he be say, if for talk say, he go support am if he be say, the zoning go to the southeast. And concerning this issue, which is merger that is coming together of these two parties, say he always dey talk say, as long as merger or any coming together, say na for the betterment of Nigeria and na to make sure say they govern this very nation in a proper way, say it dey for inside. If it not be say na just to merge for election or to capture any states. All right, my great and wonderful people. Now, only this will take from this very message will be say we receive from Peter Obi when it be say it respond to Atiku for this EO up and down. Today, I will join Peter Obi tomorrow. My hand not day for inside. Now, in the review EO stand, say the only way to join hand for this kind of agreement or arrangement now to make sure say now for the betterment of Nigeria and also Nigerians. All right, before we leave you to share your opinion with us concerning this very matter, we want quickly remember Peter Obi for one thing. Not allow yourself to be deceived, or because of say you believe say you fight for the betterment of Nigerians and also this nation, Nigeria. Yes, this one now one of the focus going to be say that they easily deceive our people. Maybe these people now will fit tell you now, almost especially these Fulanis, tell you say yes, they don't bring out their own manifesto say now for the betterment of Nigeria. As they don't give you, you don't see them. And at the end, after ABC they don't enter that position finish, they turn the table against Nigerians and also the nation. Not be today it starts. So if they fight for your own cause, as Nigerians don't they support you, so make sure say you fight for your own cause. The message will be say you send somebody different from the message will be say you go by your own self. I believe say you understand what they try to talk. I will fit do this thing and I go ahead to go do it by myself. They different from say I say I will fit do it and I go send somebody to represent me. Not be the one be say I will take perform that duty by myself. Not be so my representative fit take perform that duty. Although they will try their best to make sure say they represent me well, but they cannot be exactly like me. Peter Obi, I hope say you dey hear wetin we dey try to talk. We dey try to use this very medium to also let you know, say these Fulani people, their deception too much. So make you not just put that eye to say, if you now bring the agreement, say, okay, now for the betterment of Nigeria, may all of us go. No, it not the work like that. Just know, say, if you go by that way, then your ambition and everything go down the drain. All right, my great and wonderful people. Now, so talking concerning that matter, we'll leave you to share your own opinion with us in the comment section, even as we leave you to watch this other video. And this video and video going to be with the receive from the governor of Enugu State, going to be saying name now Peter Obi. This man come outside today to grant media chat interview to different 5 media personality. Yes, Arise News representative was there. TVC representative was there, Channels representative was there, and 2 other ones. You know the reason why I say we want quickly leave you, make you watch this interview, not pass be say. Now, once you think they know people want to be say they get something upstairs, they know they fear media, they know they fear questions. They know they fear people, say, may they not interrogate them because now waiting they inside them, now in the one release to the public. The reason why they say they grant this very media chat not pass because of waiting in to say it get as vision to the people of Enugu State, most especially for the area of education. It don't already start to the doing according to waiting in plan for your own administration. Now, these people, they go interview to investigate and also question the possibility to make sure say it fulfill this vision to the end. All right, I'll leave you. Please pay attention to this very chat. I'll come back for more.
A huge amount of money and resources in fixing the education sector. In fact, he talked about Smart Schools Initiative. And so we're back to the conversation with Governor Peter Obi. Thank you so much indeed for this time. Let's begin the conversation around the smart schools. And perhaps, Natalie, you have a question, but I think the best way to start is 33% of the state's budget was allotted to education. What made you think that education? Because I've heard a lot of very brilliant people who led in WAEC and all whatever you jump from Enugu State. But there must be something at the back of your mind that you thought was important to dwell on education and exactly smart schools. Why?
Sean, thank you very much for that question. So you already know that we actually do not have any other option. The lay of the land in the world of knowledge is shifting rapidly, and it's actually rendering our young people's knowledge, what supposedly we call their knowledge today, obsolete. Okay? So what that simply means is that if we did nothing, right, it means that our children would be completely left behind while the rest of the world continues to make giant strides across all sectors of mankind. So this became largely responsible for the resolve we made in the education sector. We recognize that whereas you could talk about a country being wealthy by virtue of its resources in terms of material and minerals and all that, we think that the true wealth lies in the human resources of any nation. And that's why we had no apologies at all. If it was possible to spend everything we had, we would dedicate it to education. We recognize also that the world is really not talking about a child of school age who is not in school. The world has since moved away from that, because don't forget, under the Millennium Development Goals, that was when the idea of no child of school age should be out of school. That was the goal the world set then. By 2015, they were done. A number of countries had moved on. So if you look at the Sustainable Development Goals, you see it speaks to there shouldn't be any child who should not have access to quality early child learning. Okay? So it's no longer emphasis on a child of school age not in school. It is about the quality of access of learning that child has. And that's essentially what we felt should be our target in Enugu State, where we take a deliberate step to ensure that we guarantee quality access to early child learning. So whereas the UNESCO recommended budget, if you talk about your global budget to education, it should be anywhere between 15 and 20%, right? In Enugu, we felt that we're way behind. We need to do a whole lot more than that. Maybe prescribing that for even people who have laid their foundation. We felt that we needed to leapfrog, and we cannot afford, based on where we are, to catch up. That strategy would never have been able to work for us. So we felt that we needed to leapfrog. And then that was why we took the radical step in education, where we are doing today 260 smart green schools across all the electoral wards. And the idea is that every child of Enugu State, every child living in Enugu State at age 3, irrespective of where they are, in the rural area, urban area, must have access to go through that pipeline of learning. So what the smart green school features, first of all, it has classes that begins at nursery. So you have the nursery, you have the pre-primary 1, the pre-primary 2. So again, we pick the index child at age 3 and put them through that pipeline of learning that allows us, first of all, to ensure that they are imbued with the right civic habits. We train them, make them understand that you can't just litter. If you go to the bathroom, you have to clean after use. Those little things we take for granted, we start getting them to learn those things. We imbue them with the skill set that they require for the workplace of tomorrow. We get them to go through that experiential learning. So we're not just teaching them how to memorize things. We're getting them to apply those things they are learning, to practicalize them, to feel it, to touch it. So that experience starts at age 3. So if you look at, and so this smart school features that age 3 entrance all the way to JS3. So that is 12 years of free mandatory education, which is beyond the 9 years.
What's the consequence of not, if it's mandatory, there must be a consequence of not
going.
Of not
and
taking.
In fact, I can tell you that you may not even apply those consequences, because the queue now is much, because what the parents, we also offer free meal. So there's a free, one balanced diet meal for, these children. So we have about 300,000 children in this age bracket that we're dealing with. So we must ensure that they are provided one free meal every day. But beyond, it's also beyond just getting that index child at age 3. What it also does, even in the medical side of things, is that it also allows us to profile, to do the health profile of that child, to look at whether that child is growing at the right age, at the right rate. We also look at whether the child is wasting, whether the weight of the child is proper, and to ensure that, so we get all data that allows us to probe into whether the child had received all the prophylaxis, the vaccinations that they need to, because we're dealing with rural women, people who may not even appreciate the importance of making sure that these kids take their vaccines at the relevant age. So it's quite exhaustive. But interesting, what you must also notice, once they get to primary 1, they set into that journey of their elementary school. We now get them to be exposed to things like robotics, artificial intelligence, CGI. So every smart school would feature a CGI studio where you talk about the computer-generated images, the virtual reality, the augmented reality. So you have a lab, 2 science labs, you have an ICT library, so it's profound.
I'm seeing some of these things, but
yes.
the penetration of internet
yes. So
it's a problem in the rural areas.
Every smart school has an internet. We have also...
Even in the rural areas.
Even in the rural area. In fact, we're building, right now, today, we have 135 sites going on where these smart schools are being built. The objective is to do 260, of course. And the idea is to absorb all the other mushroom schools so that every child goes through this experience without exception. So we believe that if we're going to fight poverty frontally, that this is the best way to go. Because 10, 15 years from now, you're not going to have any of this child, or any of these children rather, who would be looking at getting or thinking about criminality as venture, because they are skilled young people. They have the skill set to deal with the employment of tomorrow.
Nothing.
I definitely want to commend the Smart School initiative in these states, but then it's Children's Day today, and we know that we see kids, young children, walking around the streets, helping their parents, hawking and all of that. What is the state government doing to rid the streets of out-of-school children and ensure that they get into these smart schools, especially when you're dealing with a conflict of interest? Most of these parents actually want more children because they need helping hands, they need farm hands. So if you have these smart schools available, but these parents do not want to release their children to go to school because they want to sell items, how would the government balance the need to send these children to school? And secondly, what do these smart schools mean for the existing public schools in the state under the program of state government?
So it's...
Question to that. I've seen beautiful school infrastructure, mega schools in the north and south of our country. But the critical element that is often missing is the inability to match quality school infrastructure with quality level of instruction. What are you doing about the quality of instruction?
So the smart school is not about the infrastructure. It has very little to do with the infrastructure. So we're not so enthused about the infrastructure. It's something unique. It's beautiful. We make sure everything is there, but we're more interested in the soft items, the soft skills. So how the teachers, how are we able to produce smart teachers that would be able to teach robotics, to be able to teach mechatronics, artificial intelligence. So we recognized that way back. We knew that we needed to churn out commensurate amount of teachers with the skill set to be able to teach this number of kids. And we started dealing with that very earlier on. So we have even, as we talk now, we're building a center for experiential learning and innovation, which is largely where you're expecting these teachers to pass through. But in the last 6 months, we've aggressively been training our teachers. We've been teaching them, those that were getting ready. Don't forget that our time frame to get everybody in the state to get into this system, and that is also speaking to the question you asked, Natalie. It's, how do you get every child? How do you encourage parents? So we've introduced a self-incentive, system where we know that these parents, there's no parents who essentially, and don't forget that we are not just, because this is not something the parents had been used for. We're even talking about children who would wake up in the morning, won't want to go to school. I can tell you from the pilot scheme we've done now, these kids, when school is over, they don't want to go home. They all want to, the teachers practically will have to tell them it's all over because they want to stay and they look forward to coming to school the next day because of the things they come to school to do. It's exciting for them, it's engaging, they keep improving. So we expect that these kids obviously will become the torch bearers. They would challenge their parents. You don't have to litter this on the floor. We're taught to put this in the refuse bin. The bathroom is not clean, we need to clean. So we were, that's why we're catching them at that age. And if you look at our manifesto, we refer to it as cutoff point. So everything we're doing is deliberate, not a knee-jerk. It was well thought through, painstakingly thought through how we're going to achieve this, what the objective for us is, and why we're so obsessed with it. Because we understand again that the standard of our state would be measured or benchmarked based on the quality of human resources we have. And that's what we're looking at 15 years from now.
All right, so what does this mean for the public schools already?
So we're absorbing all of them. This is every child, and that's why I gave you a number of the total children in our public school today and added more. We're talking about 260,000 in our public schools. We're already planning for 300,000, okay? Because by next year, when every community, every ward would have the smart school, we imagine that there might also be people who want to move from the private school to get into the public school space. So we're already planning for that, so we absorb them.
All right. So quickly, before I bring in Rutus, there are some staggering numbers, and I'm not sure whether that is your focus or there is other objective for you introducing some of these technological interest, education perspective into your ideas. Now, there was a report that says over 400,000 pupils out of school in Enugu State. In fact, the SSG was quoted to have said that there is a percentage, about 50% of pupils in Enugu State cannot read. There is also a concern about the figure of almost 7,000 pupils who drop out of school. And the research and the report says that most of them drop out of school because of financial problems. So these are staggering numbers that indicate that there are some challenges and some problems. But with this initiative, how are you turning those figures back and ensuring that you're reducing the out of school children? What figures are you getting in the last 1 year, and what exactly are your objectives? Is it WAEC result? Is it general output of the individual, or what exactly are you bothered about these figures, or what exactly is your objective?
I think the critical mass we're dealing with here, you won't begin to feel the impact or the indicators shifting the way we radically want it to happen until maybe sometime towards the end of next year, when we would have absorbed all our children into the system. We don't have 400,000 out-of-school children in Enugu State. We indeed do not even have up to 400,000 children of primary school age.
So between 3 and 18 years.
No,
that's what the report says.
Oh, okay. So, well, you have to look at that report again. We knew when we came in, we had about 80-something thousand out-of-school children, and we're already contracting that number. And we also understand the, obvious challenge of the baseline data we did revealed some, of course, part of the things you've mentioned, which we find essentially unacceptable, where you have a child who may have spent 4 years in primary school and still not able to read, or a child who may have spent 5 years in primary school and still having problem with numeracy, basic subtraction and addition and all that. So those are, of course, things, and some the baseline data we had, or the baseline assessment we did, show that we're talking about up to 50% of our children who are in that category. So we're already addressing that with all this. I mean, think about it in terms of spending 158 billion in your education sector, just dedicating 33%. What that simply means is that out of every 100 naira we spend, 33 naira goes to education. Okay, so in terms of per capita, I'm not sure there's any state that gets close, or even in terms of the percentage to the global budget. It's not, but again, this is driven by this conviction that if we're going to, we talked about insecurity earlier on. So if we're going to deal with medium to long-term measures of dealing with insecurity, you have to think education. Because ultimately, if you have these kids who you have been able to get at the age of 3, go through this experience, you're giving them reason for hope. Most of what lead our young people into criminality essentially is when they do not have money, they do not have work, but worst still is they do not have skills to get work. So there is absolutely no reason for hope. Yeah. So, but what we're doing with these young ones is to give them reason for hope. Even when they don't have work, they have skills. They know it's only a matter of time.
All right. I think we'll go into economy, but I guess because that's very critical, and Rotus has been itching in that area. So get us started with that.
Actually, I do want to touch on education before we. It's still interlinked. Everything is still interlinked. I just wonder about the costs, right? With everything we've talked about, from the security to the water, I mean, there's a lot of spending that is that's going on. And I think the IGR numbers, Enugu, for at least the last numbers I looked at for 2022, 25 billion in terms of IGR. That placed Enugu, I think, 14th, right? I think your total revenue makeup, 25% comes from internally generated revenue, about 77% from FAC allocations, right? So how do you plan to maintain this type of spending for education? Is not cheap. You are a well-educated man. You have degrees from Lagos, Enugu, Spain, the UK. How are, the electricity that needed for these computers, the internet, the teachers, how would that, we have to raise taxes? How do you plan to maintain this type of spend? The teachers, how would that, we have to raise taxes? How do you plan to maintain this type of spending for the education and the smart schools?
Yeah, so again, we recognize that, and we realize that it's not an easy spend. It's not a cheap spend. It's not. But again, the question you ask yourself, Rotus, is would you rather defer that? Would you rather say, okay, I don't have money to spend today on education, but you spend maybe 10 times more than that in dealing with insecurity, and you continue to do that for years to come? Or would you say, okay, let's put an end to this madness. Let's begin to get to the root of this. So the way we've been able to manage things, when we talked about disruptive innovation, there were two areas we had in mind to disrupt. One was the revenue model. So the model that had over the years focused largely on revenue from the federation account and very little from the internally or the domestic revenue. We felt it was suboptimal and that we needed to optimize. We needed to disrupt that system where we flip it, okay? So we do a lot more internally and just do a fraction from and that's essentially what we have done. Today we're looking at, if you look at our budget, that same revenue, internally generated revenue of 25 billion, is being projected to grow to 287 billion. So, and we're on target to accomplishing that just by mobilizing the domestic revenue, looking inward, and also looking at our dormant assets, converting them into productive assets, clocking all the leakages, and to ensure that government revenue is accurately captured, and that we also spend it in the interest of the people.
That 200 and something billion, sorry, it's over a period of time, right? If we go from 25 to 200 and something billion.
So over this year, 1 year, from January this year.
To go from 25 to 2?
Yeah, so we're looking at actually being the number 4 in the country from that 14th position. So outside Lagos, Rivers, and Ogun, we should be the next, because we're quite on target to achieving that. And that's growing across all the sectors.
That is pretty ambitious.
So if you look at the different sectors, we've grown exponentially from the 140 million naira we had in the transport sector, for example. This year, we're poised to grow that revenue to over 13 billion. Okay, and the same sort of growth rate is mimicked almost across all the sectors.
When Rotus was talking about, do you intend to raise taxes and so on, how do you pay for this? It brings to mind the issue of taxation. I mean, if you go and read some of the reports, there are people who are always complaining about, we are being taxed heavily and so on. And when you take that and you combine it with the redesign of Enugu City, I was talking a bit earlier to my colleagues about the terminals that are going to come up in Enugu here, in Garki, and then of course in Nsukka. And there's been a lot of buzz about that. Relocation costs for those who are currently there and making way. And there are a lot of complaints as well, Your Excellency, about that. And I'm wondering if you can clear the air about this. Because there are those who said, look, it's government that we've been paying to for where we occupy. Now they say we are illegal occupants, we need to move. There are others who say, well, we're due compensation, we've not been compensated, and so on. Now, what exactly is the situation? And can you link that to the urban development plan? Why that area? Because there are also those who have raised the question that area is jam-packed. That why didn't the state government pick somewhere which is less congested and would require less people to move?
There's in fact a 50 billion naira lawsuit that has been instituted against your government over this market demolition that Ladi was talking about. So if you can clarify.
So in terms of the tax, whether we have increased the tax rates and all that, we haven't increased the tax rate. What we have essentially done is to widen our tax net. Okay, we've brought in people who were before now into that tax net. We brought them into the tax net. We've tried to deploy technology to optimize our revenue in the different sectors. So we ensure that rather than accept payment in cash, you have e-payment platforms, digital platforms where you can make payment to government, and those revenues are captured accurately. And so the leakages that were inherent in the manual system, we eliminated. So in terms of the transport infrastructural project that we're doing, you and I, Ladi, know very well that across the world, if you look at the city livability index, without a functional transport system, a seamless transport system, the city livability index drops to the barest minimum, okay? And the truth is that we talked about connecting the dots. The Enugu that we're basically inhabiting here today was designed in the 50s, okay, when we had barely 62,000 people who live here in the city. Today, Enugu has grown to close to 4 million people living in. So it's grown from that.
All right, my great and wonderful people, I believe you pay attention to every details of the questions going to be said they pose to this man and all your own responses. This one not be one person. This one now person want to be say is stand between 5 professionals. Yes, they throw different questions from every angle to Ram. Why it be say if he withstand them? Now because of say he gets something upstairs. Not be waiting the right for and make it can read. No, just as we don't see today, see now speech with the hire people to write speeches for us. Today, we not they see any of our leaders when they say that they come out with their idea to talk to the public. No, rather not to the higher media personality of all areas to them help them to the right speeches when they say that they read to the public. Tell me how it be said they will fit stand before people like this to answer questions without a sheet of paper. Now the problems when it be said with the get now it be that very one. All right, now so to kind of concern this matter, we'll leave you to share your own opinion with us in the comment section concerning this very one, even as we draw the line of this broadcast here. And before we say final goodbye, one quickly use this meeting to appreciate you for your time. Want to be sitting stay with us all to this very moment. God Almighty will bless you. And equally, the way we want to be sitting to help us share this broadcast, your likes, your comments, all of them, we appreciate them. I beg not forget to help us share this very one so that we still reach our brothers and sisters all around the world, because we believe we want to see information, now power. And as to do so, God Almighty will bless you. We'd like to draw the conclusion of this program here. We'll see you again when we see you. Remember, we love you all. Bye-bye.